Season 48, War number 7, and I have a very, very unique and different team for this war. We're taking Jabari Panther, Red Guardian, and Storm Pyramid X. Such a weird 3-character trio for war, but here we are. And I'm going to do pretty well with these champs this war. We're starting off against Node 1 Jessica Jones, a fight that I died to earlier in the season. Actually, this is the first fight I took the entire season, and the first death I took the entire season. But that was because I misdexed a kitchen sink, and I just kind of got comboed to oblivion after that. But here, I'm like, okay, just don't misdex the SP1. That's the game plan, and that's how we're gonna win the fight. So, we're just trying to spam a bunch of bleeds, and then we have Despair to counteract the healing. So, I'm actually gonna let my Harvest fall off, and she's still gonna have a good bit of health left. And I'm like, at this point, once my bleeds are gone, I can't really handle the healing, so I'm going to back off at this point and just let those regens fall off and start the re-ramp. I wasn't ready for my hunt to start when it actually did, so I wasn't really prepared for it to end so soon and for us to have a good bit of health left. I'm not the best Jabari player. I just know that once you get into that hunt, you're doing a bunch of bleeds, but before that, it's just a struggle ramping there, and then I don't remember all the different ways she actually gains her Huntress charges, so I kind of entered it unexpectedly, but either way, the JJ goes down, and I didn't die to it this time, so let's go. Alright, here we go, with Bullseye on node 10, and this is a weird placement for Bullseye because of the fact that with the tactic prowess, you kind of just shut off masochism, so I feel like there's a bunch of better placements for him here. But either way, we're gonna get our tactic prowess immediately, get a good bit of them at least, and then we're kind of chilling after that. I want to let him evade while I have him stunned, except for the fact that here, usually you can just medium light and then he evades when he's crossing a power threshold. But because of the fact he is limber, you can't do that, which I kind of just didn't think about, so I got an SP1 to the face and lost a ridiculous amount of health, so that's fun and interesting. Yeah, you can't medium light when they have limber, and let him evade into the stun, which makes a passive stun like it did there. So that was rough, but okay, we kill him. That's what matters. I just didn't take into consideration limber screwing me up like that. I don't know why. It's a really stupid mistake on my part, but whatever. Next up, we have Korg on node 20, I believe this one is, and then we're taking this with Pyramid X. I wanted to go SP3 cycle first because of the fact that Korg has a bunch of crit resistance, so I'm not going to trust my SP2s to do a bunch of damage. I'm just going to go for SP3 first so that my next SP2, even if it doesn't crit, will do a ridiculous amount of damage because we have both Tempest active. So we're going to get to the SP3 right when the Rock Shield falls off. We're going to throw it, and I think I'm going to charge heavy into it, which is really nice. Yeah, so what am I doing here? I don't know why I backed off, but okay, we're going to go for a heavy charge right after he finishes his SP1. And now we're throwing the SP3. It's going to do a good bit of damage. We also have power backs lined up, so we're going to get a good bit of power back after it. So one thing that is unfortunate with power backs is that when you throw an SP3, Storm does not gain prowess at the end of the attack for crossing a bar of power, because they count as getting consumed at the end of the special. But it's not like it's that big a deal. We're going to throw the SP2 just because I saw the Rock Shield coming back, so I knew I wouldn't have a lot of time later, so I just kind of dropped it there. And at this point, we're just going to throw the second SP2, and it's going to do plenty enough. Charge heavy into it. Don't need the full charge because we have enough prowess to make it unblockable. And we get 103k crit, so that's pretty great. Alright, next up we have Iron Man Infinity War, and this is Red Guardian's first fight. I was told to kind of just bring a buff immune, and then I'll be having a good time. And I was a little nervous about how much crit resist of Iron Man Infinity War's kit would be affecting this fight, and how annoying his final 15% would be. Turns out I had no right to be worried, because Red Guardian is going to crush this fight. And we're going to start off normally by just baiting his heavy attack, and then we're going to place a trauma on him, get the stun. The spacing is weird for different champions on when they throw the heavy attack, how far away from them you're going to be. In this case, it was far away, so I did whiff my first heavy, but it's not that big a deal. For the other Red Guardian fights, it doesn't work that way, so like I said, the spacing is just kind of weird, how far you get pushed back when you stun them from eating a heavy. And again, in Iron Man Infinity, worst case, it was just, I got pushed a little far back, so I'm going to ramp up a few more shield charges and then drop a massive SP2 in hopes that it just nukes his health away. So now we're at the max charges. We're going to throw the SP2. If we get 2 crits, he dies. We get 1 crit, but we don't get the second. So if my Red Guardian was at a higher SIG, I probably would have gotten that crit, but he's still only at like 90 right now. Which his SIG doesn't scale like insanely with extra crit rate increase, but it would be, you know, substantially more. And we just killed him with a heavy attack right at the end, so that final 15% wasn't even a thing I needed to worry about. So next up we have Sauron on node 39, and this is a pretty easy fight for Red Guardian because you're not going to get power snacked ever because he's immune to buffs, so you can't really get power snacked. So the only thing I need to worry about is the fact that it's a rank 2 Sauron and the fact that I have power stings every once in a while. Even though the power stings don't do that much damage, it still is nice to actually remember that, hey, there are going to be power stings and you're going to take damage if you throw a special with them on them. So anyway, we're going to go for the SP1 slow just to get an extra debuff for SP2 crit because we do want that SP2 to kill him if we can help it. And the more debuffs, the more crit rate you have. And Sauron does regen when you crit him, but if he has less prowess, he doesn't regen as much. And we're just using heavy attacks, so he doesn't have a lot of opportunities to gain prowess. 1 crit, again, didn't get the second crit, so that just really sucks. Like, Red Guardian, can you just crit in war, please? Because it would be really fun to see, like, the 60k crit with 60k in red from it at the end of the attack. Anyway, didn't matter. Sauron fight just demolished. He completely destroyed that fight. Almost full health at the end, too. Next up, we have Bishop on node 40, and this is the last fight I'm going to have this war. Another really easy Red Guardian one, activating an indestructible boost just in case I miss Dex and SP2. But we're going to go for the heavy early, or baiting his heavy early, and we get it. One thing that I did not take into consideration, though, is that when you fight a recoils Bishop, you do actually take burst damage because of that bleed being on him. So what I should have done in this fight is get him to trigger his regen, and then he would have purified that bleed. I just didn't do that because I'm dumb. As you can see there, when I was hitting him, I was taking damage because of the prowess he was getting, so that's annoying, but at the same time, you know, you're placing a defender with recoils, so they die in 30 seconds, just like that Bishop did. So even if he didn't have recoils, that would have been a pretty easy fight because we would get this. I would have actually opted to go for the slow early and then gotten the trauma on the SP2, and then the SP2 probably wouldn't have wiped him out. If not, I would have just done some heavy attacks and then he dies. So we did win the war by quite a large margin. Our opponents sacrificed diversity, but so did we. But they also struggled a lot with some of the fights. So it was a win on both attack bonus and defender diversity, which is pretty great. And yeah, so that's going to be my war number 7. I hope you enjoyed the video and seeing some cool Red Guardian stuff. And I will see you in the next one.